30 maybe. Your friend says the devil's getting in my voice.
Don't blame me. Straight to purpose.
Although Andrew couldn't preach as good as the other disciples, but he was a very good organizer, good organizational skills, good administrative skills. He can handle the business of Jesus. There was no problem for him to handle any kind of problem that came up. Because he was so skilled at handling the business, Jesus appointed him as leader and trainer of all the disciples. And he taught them on how to deliver their message. See, you got to go to school. You got to spend time in your gift, what God has given you. Andrew was never jealous that he couldn't speak as eloquent as all of the other disciples. But he just kept on because you know what? He had a mind to work. He had a mind to do what God told him to do. See, I can't do what Pastor Simmons can do. I can't spend the research looking up all them different stories. That's a lot of work. I can't do that. But that's his gift. I can't do what Sister Culpepper do. Make all them pretty things and stuff she used to do on the computer for the church program. I done tried. That's a lot of work. I can't do like Sister Sharon. Teach the little ones. They be done call CPS on me. I can't. Everybody got their own gift that they do. Then, let's look at James. James of Zebedee. He was also a fisherman. He was temperamental, contradictory. People say he would take two different stories and try to make them into one. That's like taking two rights to try to make two wrongs to try to make a right. That's what James would do. He'd look at everybody's story. You know somebody like that, you agree with this one, you agree with that one, you agree with when you gonna have your own mind? You know? He was the only one, but you know what though? He was the only one that could really grasp the importance of Jesus' thinking, of Jesus' teaching. He was well balanced. He was a thinker. He was a planner. And he was modest. So see, all of us have different characteristics that God can use. Then, y'all, there's John of Zebedee. He was the youngest disciple of them all. I believe he was like 21 years old. He was spoiled. Some of them, the disciples didn't even like him because he was so spoiled. He was conceited. Y'all know some people like that? Just conceited. Look at what I'm doing. I do this. I do that. I know everything. You can't know everything. Come on now. But that's how he was. They didn't like him. But you know what? John had a gifted and creative imagination. And also, too, he was kind of prejudiced. Not prejudiced in that he didn't like certain cultures, but if you knew more than him, he didn't like that. He was going upstage in a minute. Oh, I got to perform right here. No, I know something about that too. You know somebody want to show off everything they know. You ain't got to show off everything you know to somebody. That's for you. That ain't for nobody else. But you know what though? He was a truly, true example of the duties of an armor bearer. He was very, very good at tending to and seeing to the needs of Jesus. Y'all, he was always on the right side of Jesus. Even when they would have their meeting with the disciples, that was John on the right side of Jesus. Even when the apostles, when he was arrested that night, he was still on the right side of Jesus. They was walking Jesus, he was on the right side walking. Still when Jesus, he was the first one to recognize Jesus after the resurrection, after the crucifixion, and he rose. He was the first one to recognize who Jesus is. He loved Jesus just that much until they was close. I know I was reading, some people was thinking that because they were so close and they were men, that they were homosexuals. Just because two men care about each other, and love each other, or two women care about each other and love each other, that don't mean they're in sin. That don't mean they're homosexual. They love each other. You never see them, man, I die for you. You know how to get, now, prime example of that is the gang members. I would die for you cuz they do that little thing, you know, I'm gonna die for you cuz I'm gonna die for you. Why we can't see that in the Christian? Why we can't hold each other up like that? Why we can't die for one another? Die in the spirit, not die in the flesh, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Why we can't die for one? When somebody's saying something about Bishop, okay, hold up, wait a minute now. I'm feeling some kind of, especially in me, when I'm talking to somebody and they got something to say about Jesus, I get the feeling funny. I'm like, oh, I'm feeling some kind of way. Hold up, wait a minute. We about to throw down. I'm feeling some kind of way now because you're talking about the man that I serve. Then y'all, there was Nathaniel. Nathaniel, oh my goodness, he was a royal blood. You know, those people just so refined, so well educated, so elegant, so just, oh my God, and the wind blows. No. But you know what, y'all? God used him too. Even though he was doing all that, he really never did go out and preach. But he was the one that would take money, get the money that they would raise and send it to the families of the disciples. Because remember, these people left their families, so they still had bills to pay. So he would take the money they would raise in and they would send him to go give this one their money, go give that one their money. Now, of course, while he's doing that, they got children. So he's got to entertain the children and everybody in the family because he was such a good storyteller. They was missing their dad. So they had to know what their daddy was doing. Your daddy, Andrew, and he's out there preaching the word of God. You know what I'm saying? So that's how it was. He was a genius at that. So that's what the position that God gave him to do. Woo. Thank you, saints. Yes, he told a whole lot of funny stories, y'all. Y'all, then there's Judas. You know Judas was a traitor. Yes. I don't know, yes. You know how it is, you see somebody do something, you know, I don't know who that is, I don't know him. I don't see nothing. Y'all know how you do. If they come ask me if Jackie stole them braces over there, yeah, I saw, but I ain't saying nothing. I ain't saying I saw nothing. So he was a traitor. Even though he was a traitor, he was appointed to be over the finances. And he was over the finances because he was good at it. He was the executive financer. He was good at organizing the money. He was good at carrying the money. He was good at keeping up with the books. He was good at estimating the budget for that week. He was good at making out all weekly reports, even though he did that. See, each one of these disciples had different personalities that God used for the ministry. People want to think that the disciples were just poor. These people weren't poor. They had money. Look at all this. I just told y'all all the different lifestyles and all the different gifts that they had them kind of jobs too. So then you had Jude and James. They were twins. Now, they wasn't into all the philosophy and the theological decisions of stuff like that because they were just simple-minded, for better lack of words. They just didn't have it, you know. But God still used them. He used them to usher the people when they came in. You know, 5 3 over here. Over there. James, send me 5. Come on, 5 of y'all right here. Y'all sit here. Organizing, right. Getting the things together. Even though they asked Jesus a whole lot of questions about what he was teaching, Jesus took the time out for them. But the one thing that they remembered with what Jesus said is that he would love them. And that's what some of us need to remember, that we need to love one another and that God loves us. Then y'all, there's Philip. I wrote down his age, he was 27. Philip was a different disciple from all of them. He didn't have no kind of imagination at all. If he saw this picture up here, that's a picture. He couldn't see beyond. I got it. Beyond where that picture was, all he saw. I I see a picture. I don't see nothing else but that picture with them flowers. That's it. That's all I see. He saw everything was just in front of him. That's just how he was. But you know what? He had a mechanical mind and he had a systematic mind. He would stage up everything for Jesus before Jesus would preach. 3 chairs right here. You know how when you look at the movies, it's somebody's job stage. It's somebody's job to dress that stage. I need a candle over here. I need a rock right here. I need the water right here. Put an X right there. Jesus, when you come out and I say go, he was always on point. That's what you need to be. Praise and worship leaders, boom, y'all need to be singing. That was his job. And he did good at his job. No matter how annoying he was to Jesus, Jesus still took the time for him to answer all of his questions. But you know what though? Later on, he became a great public speaker, just like all the disciples. He never preached during the disciple time, but he preached after the death of Jesus Christ. He was an evangelist for Jesus. Then after he couldn't preach no more, then his wife came behind him and preached. See that women preachers. She came and preached. Then after mama couldn't preach no more, their daughter Leah came and preached. So you see the lineage, you don't know what God is gonna do. You just don't know. Then there's Matthew, y'all, that tax collector. Don't nobody want to pay no taxes. That tax collector. But you know what though? He was brilliant. He was rich. He wasn't like a millionaire, but he had some money. He wasn't hungry. He had money. He was a businessman. He was easy to get along with. He was very sociable. He knew everybody. He knew all. You know people that know all the politicians and all the governors. He went to all them kind of fast. He knew all of them. But you know what? His job was to be a financial representative for the organization. In my study, y'all, they never took up an offering. They never took up an offering. If I'm wrong, forgive me, y'all. But Matthew knew all of these business people, these people with big bank, with big money. He will go to them. That's why they gave him a name. They called him Money Go Getter. He would go get the money from them, from all of those different people, from Clinton, from Bush, from Obama. That's just the kind of connections he had. That's who he get the money from. Rockefeller, those kind of people. But then too, with his money, whenever the money would run short, then he put his own money in there. He put his own money in there until the disciples to this day don't even know that he put his own money in there. He didn't have no more money. That's just how much he believed in God. He put all his money in there. I ain't telling y'all to do that now, all right? I'm just telling you what Matthew did. Because you know, when you're talking about money, people say, oh, that's where she finna go. No, I ain't going there, not yet. Okay. Then that's Simon, y'all. Simon. Woo! That Simon, he was Jewish. Not to say Jewish people is bad, but Jews is a denomination, not a people culture. But anyway, he didn't like nobody. He didn't like the Jewish faith. He was a rebel, always willing and ready to fight somebody. He hated the Romans. He really didn't even believe in what Jesus was teaching. But for some reason, he stuck with Jesus. He strongly believed, and he just stuck with him. He said there was something about Jesus that he liked. But you know, Jesus couldn't trust him just yet to go out and preach, because he didn't like them people. I ain't talking to them. I don't like them. They don't need the word of God. They don't need to hear about Jesus. They Jews. I don't want to talk to them. So God gave him this. Y'all gonna laugh at this activity. God gave him the job. He was the recreational activities director. Because you know he had to release some of that energy. Because he probably was ready to throw down. So he probably not teaching aerobics. Okay, but it took him 4 years for Simon to believe God. what? God was patient with him. Even though he argued and debated with God, God was very patient with him. Sometimes we might not reach everybody while we're doing our work. But you just keep on keeping on. And you're going to reach them. It's going to take some time, but you just keep on keeping on. Then there's Thomas, doubting Thomas. Thomas was a pessimist. He was a man that he couldn't believe what he couldn't see. But yet he was a man of courage, a man of devotion, and a man of faith. He was very, very superstitious. But he had an analytical mind and an unflinching courage, meaning he was ready to go and get people for God. When he made up in his mind, he would do it without even being nervous. So God gave him the position, in the organization, gave him the position to manage the itinerary. Okay, Matthew, you go here. John, you go here. Peter, you go over there. What y'all got to do next week? Okay, what's your schedule? He was the itinerary director. So, no matter who you are or where you come from, God got something for you to do. Yes. Are you going to be a horizontal Christian or a vertical Christian? Can God depend on you to do the work? You might be like Peter, impulsive and optimistic with a big mouth. But can God depend on you to do the work? You might be like Andrew, good organizational skills, good administrative skills within all types of businesses. Can God depend on you? You might be like James, temperamental and contradictory, always trying to make two wrongs a right, pulling from here, pulling from there. You right, you right, you right. Can God depend on you to do the work? You might be like John of Zebedee, conceited and spoiled with a bad temper. Can God depend on you to do the work? You might even come from the finest household. You might be the kings and queens of London and England. I don't know. You come from royalty. You got the best and fine education that there is. But can God depend on you to do the work? You might be like Judas, good at keeping money, good at investing, good at bookkeeping. But can God depend on you? You might be like Jude and James, not much education, bad understanding, but you know about the love of Jesus Christ. Amen. Can God depend on you? You might even be like Philip, got a great imagination. You can see everything, no imagination. You can't see nothing behind, nothing that's in front of you but what's in front of you. Can God depend on you? You might be like Matthew. You got a little bit of money, a little bit of change. You got a whole lot of connections. You everywhere, you here and there, you know a lot of people. But can God depend on you? You might be like Simon, a person who got a whole lot of hate in their heart. But can God put you to work? Can he depend on you? You might be like Thomas, passive, not believing of what you're seeing in the front of you. But can God depend on you? Can God depend on you and you and you to do his work? Can God depend on you to win souls for Christ? Can God depend on you to use your gift for him? Can God depend on you? I'm going to leave y'all with that. Can God depend on you?
Amen.
Amen.
Amen.